A very wonderful day to you, and I welcome you once again to this newspaper review segment on First Next News Port Harcourt. I am Kings Ojalo. I will be taking you through all newspaper headlines and highlighted interesting story on this segment. Now we will be starting with the Punch newspaper. On the Punch newspaper, highlighted story says, Electoral Act, Senate rejects fresh amendment as Atiku, Obi, Amaechi push back. Senate rejects fresh amendment as Atiku, Obi, Amaechi push back. You find that in page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Now on the right side, FCCPC probes fare fixing by local airlines. You find that in page 20. And also another interesting story. Over 200 men welding AK-47s storm Yawada, police witness says. You find that in page 8. Now going to the Blueprint newspaper. On the Blueprint, highlighted story says, INEC approves January 16, 2027 for presidential NAS polls. February 6 for governorship, state assembly, Oshugoba, August 15, 2026. Nigerian democracy has evolved into a defining feature. That is coming from UN, still on that highlighted story. Now, a little highlighted story here. Why we build furnished NSCDC Command and Control Center. That is coming from Tantita. Why we build furnished NSCDC Command and Control Center. That is coming from Tantita. Going to the Matrix newspaper. On the Matrix newspaper, we have on the highlighted Electoral Act 2026, APC opposition in fresh face-off. Electoral Act 2026, APC opposition in fresh face-off. Now on the top, we have Yolete season airfare hike. That is coming from FCCPC accuses local airline of price fixing. Now on the right side, we have APC denies ADC allegations over Obi order alleged assassination attempt in Edo. Still on that, in page 3, God made it possible, not lobbying. New Bayelsa deputy governor says. Now on sport, Ronaldo become club owner, acquires stake in Spanish side Almeria. You find that in page 25 of that newspaper platform. Now going to the Vanguard newspaper on the highlighted in page 14. INEC moved 2027 polls to January 16. Oshugoba holds August 15, 2026. Now still on that on the top, 2027. Atiku, Obi, Amaechi, Mark, Galadima, others reject electoral acts. Now another interesting highlighted story. Thanks for gracing your ancestral homeland, Your Excellency. Our Excellent Senator Oluremi Tinubu tells the Olu of Warri. Now going to This Day newspaper. On This Day newspaper, we have Tinubu urged Senate to tinker with 1999 Constitution to accommodate state police. You find that in page 9 of This Day newspaper. Now on the top, organized private sector analysis hail courageous MPRO reduction, urge federal government to the risk business climate. You find that in page 8 of that newspaper platform. No much on This Day newspaper. Moving straight to the Nigerian Tribune. On the Nigerian Tribune, on the highlighted presidential election to hold January 16, 2027. Governorship February 6. Yes, that has been a setting and a fixed date for the election next year, 2027. Conduct of party primaries to commence on April 23. Presidential NAS campaign to commence August 19. Osun governorship polls to hold August 15 this year. Now, on the bottom line, ADC, NNPP rejects new electoral acts. That is another interesting story on the Nigerian Tribune. Now, on the bottom right as well, FCCPC establishes case of price fixing by local airlines. You find that on page 11, which also says to probe foreign carriers next year. Now going straight to the Daily Sun newspaper. On the Daily Sun, on the top, assassination attempt on Obi, APC absolve self, blames ADC. You find that in page 6 of the Daily Sun newspaper. Now on the highlighted, interesting one here, as INEC reverses timetable, 2027 election now holds January 16 and February 6. You find that in page 29 of the Daily Sun newspaper. Now on the bottom, we have some interesting highlighted story as well. Supreme Court focus is to strengthen public confidence in administration of justice. That is coming from CJN. You find that in page 4. Opposition party reject amended electoral act. You find that in page 6 of that newspaper platform. Alleged certificate forgery. Hearing in ex-ministers suit against UNN orders stalled. You find that in page 29 of that newspaper platform. Now going to the Guardian newspaper. On the Guardian newspaper, the highlighted story says INEC ignores electoral act protest. Shift 2027 elections for Ramadan. You find that in page 6 of that newspaper platform. Now on the left side, we have a couple of interesting stories there, which says over 100 terrorists storm Benue villages, kills 150. Witness tells courts. You find that in page 29. 2027 polls, Yoruba Rono withdraws support for APC, backs ADC. An interesting one there from the opposition, which is the ADC. We can find that in page 7. Commission documents 700,000 out of schools children. You find that in page 7 as well. Federal government deepens credit corp targets wider coverage. This pawns meant. You find that in page 5 of that newspaper platform. Bauchi government says 10,000 well-armed bandits attacking communities. That's a very sad and terrible story in page 29. Constitution amendment delay fuels anxiety ahead of 2027 elections. You find that in page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Now going to the Daily Trust newspaper. On the Daily Trust, the highlighted story. Opposition rejects amended electoral act. Opposition rejects amended electoral act. Yes, which is the ADC. Still on the top. Bag of Smith climbs to 11,000. A very interesting story there. Bag of Smith climbs to 11,000. That is buying a bag of Smith now in Nigeria. You spend the sum of 11,000 naira. Throwback recall where a bag of Smith was 1,500, 2,000 naira, but now 11,000 naira. Wow, what are the fates of those who have a dream of having their home in Nigeria? Now, you will find that in page 21 of that newspaper platform. Now, still on the top, in page 16, Sharia Council to US. You can't stop Sharia in Nigeria. You find that in page 16 of that newspaper platform. Still on the top of the newspaper, in page 7, Governor Inowa Yahaya commissions inspect project in Kwame Duku local government areas. Now, on the bottom line of the Daily Trust, you find INEC shift presidential election to January 16, 2027. You find that in page 16 of that newspaper platform. Now, on the bottom line, we have interesting stories and terrible stories as well. Terrorists killed 22 in Kebbi, Adamawa. It's a very sad one. Schoolmates celebrate Walida's releases. Schoolmates celebrate Walida's release. You find that in page 16 as well. IPI urged new IGP to protect press freedom and harassment of journalists. You find that in page 25 of that newspaper platform. Now, going to the next newspaper, which is the New Telegraph. On the New Telegraph, on the highlighted, INEC alters election timetable, fixed presidential polls for January 16, 2027. You find that in page 4, 5, and 7 of that newspaper platform. Now, on the bottom left, Dangote petition, ICPC digs in, makes stating discovery, investigation says. You find that in page 3. Now on the top, budget, hope rises as Nigeria crude oil price raises above 2026 benchmark. Now, also a little headline there on the right side. At New Telegraph, we have cause to celebrate. That is coming from Aminu. Now going to our last newspaper platform for today, which is the Nation's newspaper. On the Nation newspaper, on the highlighted, presidential election holds January 16, governorship February 6. On the top, airlines face FCCPC sanctions for arbitrary pricing. Now we also have in page 3, Electoral Act 2026, Presidency, APC fires back as ADC, NNPP kick. Now we also have First Lady, a blessing to Nigeria, says Obore Wori. Take that again. First Lady, a blessing to Nigeria, says Obore Wori. That is the Olu of Wori, saying that Udum assures of improvement in payment system. You find that in page 2 of that newspaper platform. And that is all for today on this newspaper headline segment. Many thanks for being with me. Many thanks for listening. I am Kings Ojalo. Till I come your way next time, it's a bye for now.